Welcome to the Big 12 Mafia Show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. I'm supposed to have some guests tonight. I don't know. It's been the craziest day in college football than I might have ever experienced today. There's a lot of moving stories out there that have conflicted with National Recruiting Day or Signing Day, which was yesterday. That's why I put this show together. But I don't have any guests for some reason. Devin Blackman's supposed to be here. Jeff Fuller is supposed to be here. Uh, we're supposed to have Jake from Coug Connect here, and nobody's here. And I don't know if that's because it's busy. It's Christmas. Maybe they told me they could come and weren't here, but I'm going to do my best to cover BYU's recruiting. I got some stories we can cover on that, and then we'll quickly run through their recruiting class as it stands today. But first, thanks for joining. I appreciate you being here. If you're new to the channel, feel free to leave comments. Please become a subscriber. That's free on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter and be a part of the conversation. Everything I do is with groups. It's for you, and I'm not just here to hear myself speak. So yeah. Anyways, we're going to jump right into it. If you do subscribe, you can consider becoming a paying member. Paying members have benefits. I'll quickly run that video so everybody knows how to do that, and then I'll jump into what the recruiting day was for BYU yesterday. All right, let's run this 1 second. Here we go.
Become a member of Big 12 Mafia by going to our homepage and hitting the join button located next to the subscribe button in the upper right corner. There are several membership levels to choose from.
All right, just like that, we can get into some business. So let me send one message here to a guest who wanted to come on, a BYU guy. You can come now if you want. All right, here we go. Let me get my screen up, and we'll quickly review where we're at with BYU's recruiting class from last night. It's pretty significant. Let me bring it up here. And obviously some of the big wins, and we'll go through them in detail. Let me hit refresh here, make sure I've got the latest. But there's a few that are outstanding I want to cover really quick. Let's see. Tua Taga is supposed to be coming on. He's just recently flipped to a possible signing at BYU. He would be a huge win. And he would be a steal from Utah. And that's what we're here about, is stealing from Utah. I think that's what makes all of us happy. So anything we can do to help ourselves, and naturally it will affect the Utes. We'll run through each one of these recruits in class, and then I may invite you guys to join the show. You can call in. I'll post the link. Anybody who wants to voice their concerns or be part of the conversation, do that. And that's why I'm here. So quickly we'll run through here. Just so you know, this Brody Laga, the reason he doesn't have stars next to his name is he's a kicker. And kickers evidently don't really get stars. There's recruiting agencies that do nothing but give ratings, but they don't accumulate for some reason. They're not given a value in the normal recruiting numbers on 247.com. So I think that is an interesting thing because he's a 5-star kicker according to the agencies. So that's something I find that's a big deal that we'll have to work on as we get bigger and bigger. Oh, here we go. Jeff Fuller's coming to talk. He's at a family thing. Jeff, I'm all by myself here.
Hey, what's up, Nathan?
How we doing?
Good, Bomber.
All right.
Feeling a little lonely, huh?
Oh, geez. But it's been one of those days. All the realignment stuff. It's just been a crazy day. I've gone from show to show to show. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I think I heard you on Greg's show earlier today, PATC, right. So peek around the corner, and yeah, some interesting news going on in the national landscape. So
absolutely. Did you see that latest thing about Washington State and Oregon State settlement?
Is it like within the last couple hours or
last 10 minutes?
Oh, nope. I'm
okay. You'll have to do a search for that. It's very interesting.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. So, of all, and you, I know you know these recruiting and these kids way better than I do. You follow it. You're more in tune with the school itself. Is there any of these that you want to breach on, broach the conversation about that you want everybody to know was a big win for BYU?
Sure. I mean, obviously, Reiner Swanson sticks out as the only four-star that signed. Great guy. He was actually, he's a firm commit. He was at the Giving Machine event down in Orange County, wherever they held it. I don't know if it was
Yeah,
Laguna
he's from California.
Yeah. But I think who was it? The coaches were down there at that same event, and then
Right.
and then our great tight end Isaac Rex was down there as well. So sort of Pat, we're not sure if Rex is coming back or not. I think he's done. But Reiner was there sort of to take the tight end torch, and excited to see his. He's got a really high ceiling, and anytime you can get someone in the 90s on this composite rating.
Right.
That's a big win. And there aren't many of those.
Let's talk about Ephraim Asiata too.
That's a real big one. I mean, officially a 3-star, but just right. There's a big difference between 3 stars. They go, all the way up into the 87, 88s, I think. And
right.
You have to get to 90 to be a 4-star with 24/7.
Right.
So he's a high 3-star. And one of the big things there is, he's from the Salt Lake Valley, and from a family that's traditionally, you see Asiata and you think Utah Utes, and he was crystal balled there. Everyone thought he was going there, and then just Jay Hill, and I think Pohua, the defensive coach, great. He seems to be a huge. He's been a great recruiter for the Utes in the past, especially, into the Polynesian pipeline, I guess you say, the Polynesian culture there, right. Especially in Salt Lake.
Here's his son, Viliami, right? Viliami?
Yep. And he's a flip. He committed to the Utes before his mission, but he's, just finished. I think didn't he serve here in, I think he served in locally here in Birmingham in his mission.
Did he really?
I'll have to double check that, or maybe a local friend said that they had contacts with them, but that they told me it was 6 months or more ago that hey, he's going to be going to BYU. Not shocking. His dad's employed there, and it's great, but that's a great one, and it's great too, because you get these edge guys, these defensive line guys, these linebackers, they tend to they don't tend to be busts nearly as much as a lot of the skill positions. You look at, highly ranked quarterbacks, and it's more hit and miss. When you actually look at who makes it into the NFL, they did a big study. The guys who do Stars Matter, I think they're with The Athletic. Right. Ari Swasserman and I think Max Olson, I think, do that show, and they actually did a study looking at who's going to make it into the NFL. Obviously 5 stars have a higher chance than 4 stars that have a higher chance than 3 stars, but it's not a guarantee for anyone. And they're actually more 3 stars that make it in the NFL than 4 or 5s, just by sheer numbers, because there's so many more of them. But by position, the edge players, especially because they're so highly rated in high school based on sheer physicality. They just are usually men among boys at the high school level, and just they're more twitchy, and it's not so much technique at that level as it's just raw athleticism, and that carries over to the next level in college much better at that position than say a quarterback who's been, doing 7-on-7 camps and honing their skills since they've been maybe 10 or 12 years old, playing flag football and these other things. They may reach their ceiling, when they're in their late teens. But other people catch up to them and surpass them. And that doesn't happen as much with the very physical positions like edge. And offensive line has usually been a strength for BYU, and we'll see what happens coming in. Didn't get a whole lot on the offensive line, which is a little concerning, but I think one of the main focuses with this class was to let Jay Hill and Pohua and Papinga and crew, get their recruits.
Right.
This is the first time they've really had a full cycle to recruit, to show what they could do. And, Kalani, I think, gave them a long leash. There were more holes to fill there. We really need depth along the defensive line and into the linebacker crew. We saw, with Bywater's injury, big drop off. And not to call anyone out, we saw in our safeties this year. Cornerback, we have more depth and could fill holes and put people out there. But safety, that was a weak link this year. We had guys who balled out as best as they could, but there were a lot of broken plays that should have been run down by Power 5 level safeties, that they just didn't have the top speed to catch the people. So
and that's what recruiting's all about, right? Is building
Absolutely.
that depth. It takes 3 to 5 years, depending on where you're at and how strong your program is. Utah, I believe their climb took them a little more than 4 years to get their classes turned over enough where they were really good with the 2 deep, and in some positions went 3 deep. So that shouldn't surprise anybody that's watching us right now or might talk about this later. I really quick wanted to I've seen this DeVoe Tuataga play, and he is a stud. I know he's a 3-star, but he's got to be just underneath that 4-star level, and he's an edge player. Defensive line is really a place where if BYU can control the offensive and defensive lines, and we saw how important that was this year, how much of a difference that would make, in an improving Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's I think where BYU can take some comfort, is that average star rating unfortunately is not wonderful for BYU this year. I think it was in the high 85s for the average star rating.
Isn't it 86.0, something like
okay,
that?
Maybe with some of the later signings they got above 86.
Let me look. Let me see if I can find them. Hang on. So 85.48.
Okay.
On 23 commits.
Yep. And so it's a big class, and that's part of why, we're ninth in the conference out of I think it's 14 teams or 16 teams listed here, because did it put the incoming Pac-12
they did. Yeah, this is for 2024.
Yep. And so that it's sort of weird how they do their rankings by average star rating. Unfortunately, BYU, I think, was last or second to last in the Big 12, and honestly, I think third or fourth to last among all P5 schools. But people have to realize BYU has the smallest pool to fish in for recruits. And that's just a reality. I mean, it's almost like the service academies, it's a special player who wants to go to BYU.
Right.
The honor code and just the religious environment. Yes, for a lot of LDS kids, they may want to go there more than any other school. So it maybe you get that advantage on the other side. But there was this brand study done by Official Visit, and they looked at all the Power 5 schools plus BYU. This was, I think, 2 years ago. And they asked 1,000 recruits, if you had an offer from every school, every school in the nation, how likely on a scale of 1 to 10 would you be to go to this school? And they listed all the Power 5 schools and BYU. Right. Sadly, BYU was dead last on that. And that's not shocking to me and to you and probably a lot of other people, because of the religious affiliation and the honor code. Right. There's a large subset of kids that don't want to put their football career or their academic career on the line, for maybe drinking or doing a lot of college stuff, a lot of stuff that a lot of people go to college for. That's just the reality. And so I think BYU fans need to be understanding of where our ceiling is with recruiting. We're not going to be recruiting in the top 20s probably ever, but we should develop.
Let me intersect. You're going there. You can go and go and go.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you a few more questions if possible. Sure. First of all, Wyatt has joined us. I met him on Coug Connect. Before I give him a chance to ask a question or whatever, I want to want to promote Coug Connect. If you're an NIL fan, sorry, if you're a BYU supporter, you need to be supporting an NIL. The one that I work with is Coug Connect. Jake Brandon, guy's a stud. They give 90% of all their money directly to the players. They do good works in trade for those things. So I would encourage everybody to take your phone, take a picture and scan that QR code in the upper corner of the screen you see there, and sign up for Coug Connect. It's $10 a month, and BYU's NIL is almost nil compared to everybody else. Utah's somewhere in the 900,000 range, and BYU's not anywhere near that. We need to do a better job as a culture of spending money on BYU sports. Like, even if you give to the Cougar Club, you still got to give to the NILs, and it's just the way it is. If we want to win, we're going to have to give it money. Okay, Wyatt, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah. First, wanted to say definitely big props to Coug Connect. I think of it, I tell my family and friends that I've gotten to sign up. It's $120 subscription a year to BYU football. If you want to complain and you want to be, the way that most fans are, buying into the way that the game is played nowadays is, in my opinion, essential. So we have the big dollar donors, hopefully those come through too, but we need volume donors. We need a lot of people so that Jake can give the small deals that do make a difference to a lot of these guys. I mean, I just had a friend that did a deal today with Marcus Adams. So if anyone wants to go and buy the playing cards that he's that he's publicizing there, you can go do that and help out Marcus and incentivize these guys to get more deals. But one question I had for you, Jeff, huge fan of everything you've done. I think you're kind of a member of BYU folklore for your work, especially as the Big 12 saga occurred. You were probably going head to head with McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group or whoever they had on the other side. So
I wish.
So someone needs to be paying you the hourly wages that those guys get. But I think it's odd. We talk about every recruit and we talk about all these guys. Every class has guys that obviously will be brought in, for depth, and sometimes won't ever see the field. What in a normal class, how many of these guys should we realistically expect? And maybe not specific names, but just per class, how many guys end up actually contributing, and how many people per class will we look back on and say, who was that? Did we ever see their name? That's one interesting thing I think with recruiting, and is to kind of have that level-headed, view.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There's only so many snaps. There's only so many, people who are going to rise to the level. You can be great at the high school level, and if you don't up your game and get bigger, stronger, faster, more skilled in your position, you're probably never going to see the field. And most 4-stars never make the NFL. Only a small percentage of 3-stars. I can't quote you the numbers, but yeah, as far as how many per position or per class, we're probably talking about, I don't know, 6 to 10 that are going to be key contributors for multiple years. We'll probably see half the class either never see the field in a meaningful way and or transfer out before getting to that point. Especially with the transfer portal, a lot of people, they don't see the field. They want to see the field. They'll go to a smaller school to get the snaps, to get the exposure, and then see if they can parlay that into, a transfer back or transfer somewhere else. So yeah, these guys aren't going to all hit. The higher the ranking, the more likely they are to hit. But yeah, you can't just expect them all to raise their profile and to see the field all the time.
Yeah, it's a brutal game, right? In Division I football. One other thing that I think that a lot of fans talk about is, obviously we've gotten a few guys from the FCS ranks, notably people like Eddie Heckard, now Jack Kelly, people who are, you could argue that Eddie Heckard was the best player on the team last year. I think that's definitely a case that can be made. Jack Kelly has a lot of potential. We had AJ Vongphachanh, not FCS, but came from G5. Have you looked at all at looking at the potential that and the impact that people have that go up a rank or 2 ranks, FCS or G5 up to P5, now P4, versus I think a lot of fans will say, oh, why aren't we getting guys that are P4 transfers, right? We want people that are transferring from Oklahoma or from from Texas A&M or somewhere. We don't want guys that are transferring from Weber. But I've also had the thought that maybe the guys that are transferring from P5 or P4 have a lower, they're kind of the guys that turned out to be that half of the class, like you talked about, that won't ever make an impact. Have you looked at kind of the differences and whether it actually is better to go down versus laterally?
I mean, just my anecdotal view. I haven't run the numbers or researched it in depth, but I mean, look at we've got Keelan Marion who transferred in, and Darius Lassiter from Group of 5 level. And they were key contributors this year.
Yep.
You've got obviously Eddie Heckard, you've got Vonk Pachon, as you mentioned, coming from Utah State. Those guys, and I think that's a better model, especially at a place like BYU, where it is tougher to recruit out of high school from a smaller pool. If you got guys who want to step up and get the larger stage, and they're a proven product, they weren't 4 stars out of high school. They're not coming from, they're not transferring after they've, seen a lot of snaps at Clemson or at Texas, and they just want to do something else. Those guys probably aren't going to come to BYU. But yeah, it's clear that a lot of our key contributors this year were transfers from, Group of 5 or FCS teams. And that's a proven product. I'd much rather have a guy that you have a lot of film at the college level, and it's proven that they're a every down player, and they're going to make an impact. Yeah, they may have to adjust for a different level of size and physicality and speed a little bit, but a lot of these guys I like that model. You look at what Prime is doing at Colorado. They have a high average star rating, but they are ranked way low, and because they only, I think, took
They
like
have six
players.
But
they're saving it all for the transfer portal.
Yeah, they're going to have 40 transfers
exactly
in this next window. So
it's a whole different ball game now. Hey guys, I've loved
being
here. Yep, I do.
Yeah.
I got to run and help take care of guests are arriving in a few minutes for a little family get together, and got to help the family. But
you said 15 minutes. You gave me 22, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely, and appreciate meeting you officially, Wyatt.
Yeah,
and go Cougs.
Love following
go Cougs.
All right,
see you later.
All
right, bye-bye. Wyatt, this Kinalau Fanahima, have you, because I tracked him quite a bit through links that was on Coug Connect about people, how the option that he could flip from Utah, because he was supposed to go to Utah, to come in. Do you know anything in particular about this particular recruit?
I like that you said flipped. I love that Bartle, right? The Ute
right.
The Ute guy it's
Jay Bartle, right? Isn't it Jay Bartle?
Yeah, I think he's there too. He's their Jeff Hansen equivalent, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I don't like to say equivalent. Yes. I think Jeff's a lot better. So right. I don't want to say anything too negative about Bartle, but I did appreciate that that Fanahima, he crystal balled him, I think 2 days prior, and then about 12 hours prior he flipped it. So it definitely put some egg on a Utes face, which I will take any day of the week. I think anyone that was following Coug Connect was laughing as he did that. I mean, this was someone that Utah wanted. This was not I think the best thing about Fanahima was that the Utes thought that they had him for about a day,
right?
And they were talking about him being, the next Van Fillinger, the next, in a long line of very big end rushers, right? This was someone the Utes wanted. And then when he ended up committing to BYU, they couldn't do this whole we didn't actually want him thing, right? Because they had a full day and a half of tweets saying that he was a huge get. I mean, he's someone that I don't believe he's mission first. I think he's going to come in, and I don't expect him to make a huge impact year one. He probably needs to put on, 30 pounds.
Okay.
That's doable in 2 years. I mean, you get him into the program and you get him training,
Right.
that weight will come. So I think that he's got the speed and the size and the physicality. Watching Springville this year, he was a force. I mean, him and Dallin Johnson were
Dallin Johnson's a stud.
yeah, they were both.
Dallin Johnson's a stud.
Yeah, they were both creating a lot of havoc. You know, the frank reality is getting guys to play year one that are on the line, offensive or defensive, is really hard. I mean,
Right.
you just don't have the size normally. You looked at the other Fano brother that played for Utah this last year, Spencer, right? He was an incredible high school player. Wish he would have come to BYU, but you watched him. He was pretty out of his depth, playing even the early games against, lower level talent. It's really hard for these guys to come in year one. So I wouldn't expect to see a lot of him. Maybe, you might see him towards the end of the season. My guess, though, is that he will be an impact player in 2 years. I think he's someone that, you've got Tyler Batty and you've got Isaiah Banya. They're leaving.
Right.
For sure, right? They're going to be 1 year more year. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to step up, and I would expect him, Devoto Ataga. Those are probably people they're thinking are immediate impact players.
I completely agree. So, the other talk of the town last night on Coup Connect was the thought that we're not getting a heavy-handed 4-star transfer in for quarterback this year. We're going to be getting the guy that was at USF that had previously, it was Bohannon, that was at Baylor and then USF, and he's signing, and he's going to be, he's a veteran, but he is nowhere near where you need to be to compete at the high Big 12 level. So the two guys that stand out in this recruiting class, I don't know much about except for their names. That would be Enoch Watson and Noah Lugo. I've seen both film. Are either of those ready to play?
So Enoch Watson, I think he's 2 years away just because he's about to go on a mission.
Is he going on a mission? Okay.
Yeah, he's a mission first. I know there's a few guys that are 1 year and then a mission. Reiner Swanson, I know, is playing a year, so he's kind of doing the old model.
Yeah, I saw that.
Noah Lugo's film is pretty impressive.
It is. He's very, very agile. It reminds me of Jaron Hall.
Yeah, and he has an arm. Some of those guys that are really, really agile, you see him, you worry because they can't make throws downfield. That was something. Sol J. Mayava was an incredible athlete, right? But couldn't pass that well. And it doesn't seem like he's that kind of guy. I mean, it's hard again to come in as a quarterback and figure out how to read defenses at the D1 level. I would expect Ryder Burton probably to be before Noah. I mean, man.
See, I was going to ask you about Ryder because I thought he might get some playing time this last year. Why didn't that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I know. I mean, he's obviously a true freshman. I know he played in that offense. Down there at Springville, that's basically like a power I.
It is, yeah.
Very different from what BYU's running. So that takes a little while to adjust. But the stuff that I heard secondhand was that he looked good in camp, but he looks good, but you don't want to throw him out there too early and ruin his confidence, or worse, get him hurt. So I would guess that Ryder Burton will be in the mix after a year of running the scout team. He'll be in the spring. I mean, man, Retzlaff that kid's a gamer, right? I liked watching Retzlaff, and I think if we were a Mountain West Conference team still, I think Retzlaff could probably do the job.
He two issues. I like him. He's like reminds me of Jake Plummer at Arizona State, but
yeah,
he's loose with the ball. He's got a very loose handle, meaning any touch, any fumbles. That's the concern in Big 12 football. You have to be able to cover the ball up.
It's I think the people that are hopeful for Retzlaff would say, look, the O-line had issues. He was thrown in as a second string player. He didn't have the reps, right? He was he wasn't prepped to be the starter because Slovis was handed the ball from day one, right? I mean, the fact is though, like his completion percentage is about 50%. That's not promising, right? If we're going to be honest,
it isn't.
You know, if he was at 56 or 58% and had a 5 touchdown to 200, but his touchdown to interception was 1-1, right? 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. A couple of those interceptions were backbreakers, and it's going to be, it's tough for me to imagine him growing into the role, but there's obviously been growth year to year. I mean, Zach Wilson, I think a lot of people were calling for him to get benched, right? And that was before.
But they look different though on tape.
That's
even as a freshman, Zach Wilson was him, 100%, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate here and saying,
right.
But I mean, you remember seeing young Max Hall? He jumped into the game, and Max Hall looked good, right? John Beck,
Tanner Mangum did too, but
yeah, and then Tanner Mangum for whatever reason, yeah, just kind of fell off. I mean, Retzlaff looked like he was a guy that has a lot of hustle, but sometimes it's just not there, right? I think
part of the conversation has to be for this next season. It's do or die for Aaron Roderick and his offense.
Absolutely, yeah. If you have another like this,
yeah,
there's no way you get retained, right? And I don't know who the replacement is, but there's, I think fans need to kind of shed the independent Mountain West Conference mindset. As a Power 4, you have $1 million a year to give to your coordinators. Jay Hill's making that.
Yes.
We no longer have to figure out, hey, let's go take a flyer on a quarterback's coach,
right?
Or promote whoever is in our system. We can go find someone at the G5 level that wants exposure and bring them up. Like that's, we don't have to have the poverty mindset for coordinators anymore. I think we had that for the D coordinators, and I think most people were pretty shocked when Jay Hill got brought on, right? But the reality is, BYU is now a Power 4 school. If you come in as the offensive coordinator and do well, you get hired as a head coach, and that's the reality. So, I think it's do or die. It really surprises me that Bohannon's the guy they're going with.
Right, and then this recruiting class doesn't scream a lot of offensive talent, and we have good first line players. I think Noah's got a chance to be successful, but defense did fantastic and is still going to improve. There's still some opportunities for growth there, but the offensive side needs more help. Yeah, that's all there is to it.
I mean, we've got it does excite me having Hagan come in, right? He was obviously a huge recruit before his mission. He's going to be, I mean, he's kind of got the potential to be the next big receiver in the line of, Cody Hoffman, Puka Nacua, Austin Collie. Hagan has that mark. He was a 4-star recruit, top recruit in Utah for his year.
Right.
But, if you don't have someone throwing the ball to him that can get it to him, and Noah Lugo looks good. I'm excited, but man, you just don't want to trust someone that's a true freshman. Quarterback's really hard to adjust to. In high school, you're playing with one read. In college, you've got 2, 3, the defense is doing, multiple looks. It's just a different game. It's a lot easier to adjust if you're a running back, if you are a safety, a corner. But yeah, quarterbacks, probably the hardest position to play year one, followed closely by, offensive, defensive line. Doable, we've seen it happen, but normally it's the redshirt freshmen. It's the right. People with 1 year to learn the system, to adjust.
And BYU's always been a transfer school too. There's no reason that you can't have a good star transfer quarterback come in as well. Yeah, there's opportunity there.
It surprises me that they're going, the reality is Bohannon, he had a year at Baylor where, yes, he did win the Big 12 championship.
That team was loaded, though.
He was surrounded by talent that we don't have, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And hey, if we had the Baylor cast, say we had the offensive line of 2020, and we had Tyler Algier and we had Puka Nacua, maybe we could do that, right? And who knows? Maybe the philosophy is just going to change, or they think that Bohannon has something left. But he didn't look impressive at USF. I mean, he didn't look good.
Yeah, I don't
So,
know.
so
I don't know.
I know our NIL could improve, but we're getting beat out. We got beat out by a few other Power Four schools that also don't have great NIL. Indiana,
Right.
Signed a quarterback we were recruiting for. I mean, Indiana's not, they don't have. They're a basketball school, right?
We have to keep the guys at home. They need to stay at home. We need the darts to stick around. We should have been fighting for Isaac, right?
Yeah,
Isaac Wilson should have been a Cougar.
yeah,
I mean, it's just we got to start winning some of these quarterback battles. Defensive recruits are great, but we need everybody sees the defensive linemen, the free safeties or DBs, and
yeah.
quarterbacks. Those three, DN specifically, those three positions, and it screams we are real. We're for real. We're a school to be taken seriously. And right now, we're still a couple steps off, I think.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the big thing, like you talked about with Jeff, is the depth, right? You need
Right.
that your second and third. I mean, look at the safety position. By game one, we were down to our third string safety.
I know. That's frustrating.
And look, I mean, some of those guys played hard. I mean, Crew Wakely was a surprise, but most of those guys were depth pieces, right? And we got to get guys that are, and I think we're building on that, right? I think we see people, Carson Suisui, Jonathan Cabea, you have up there.
Yep.
Those are guys that if they're your depth, we're going to be all right, but our first string guys, yeah, they can compete. I mean, you look at who the top of this class is. Yeah, they're really good, but it's about having those depth pieces. And that's really, I mean, you can't be having guys that are walk-ons starting at your safety position.
Right. Right. That's true.
I mean, Jay Hill can do a lot, but man, if you're dealing with guys that aren't, they don't have a competing D1 offer, you're not going to be able. That's what happened. We wonder what happened against TCU, where we just got slant route after slant route. But
it's ridiculous.
That's
the way it goes.
But
really quick, I want to just mention Jack Kelly is a 4-star transfer, and that was a big win. He was also one that was wanted by Oregon, USC, Nebraska, and for him to go to BYU, that was a big win for the program.
Huge, yeah. And the great thing about him, well, there's two big things. First, 2 years to play, barring him just blowing up. But I think
Right.
he plays 2 years. The second is he knows Jay Hill's defense. This is not a foreign concept. We're
Right.
not up. And it says to me that Jay Hill, I mean, my fingers are crossed. I don't want to call it over till it's over. Falatau Satuala gets his crystal balls to be.
Is that going to happen?
I mean, I'm a Bountiful native.
Okay.
I played with his cousin. His cousin was the most talented football player I ever played with.
Okay.
And I mean, my brother goes to school with him, and he says, I don't think anyone at school knows where he's going. So for those crystal balls to come out, they must know something, because literally every kid in my brother's 15 years younger than me, and he's like, no one knows where that kid's going. I don't, he told me a few days ago, I don't think Falatau knows where he's going.
Okay. All right. I started the show by myself asking that question.
So
is where he could end up. I mean, if he goes to BYU, that would be one of those marquee. You could put it up on a wall and people would recognize it and say, "Wow, BYU!
Yeah.
Look at that."
So the fact that Wilt Fong and Blair Angelo both crystal balled him. Those guys don't do guesses, right? They know something. So
right.
hopefully they know something real, because he's a day one contributor. I mean, I think he's a guy. The rumor is that they basically told him, we'll play you wherever you want to play, wherever you fit. He might be a receiver. He might be a linebacker. He might be a safety, but wherever he plays, I mean, he's a generational talent. Like, he really is.
Right.
Size-wise, speed, temperament. I mean, that kid, you saw the play where Bountiful went to the state finals and they threw a fade to him and he just mossed the guy.
Right.
So I think he wouldn't surprise me if he came in and was the starting receiver or the starting safety day one. So, but yeah, Jack Kelly, to make the point, I think Jay Hill, I mean, it shows Jay Hill has a lot of sway. His guys want to play for him. But Jack Kelly is a day one starter as well, I think. So
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. We still got the window's going to be open for a while. We all know that the transfer portal is open, meaning that people could come in. So
it
there's a
could.
chance we get a bigger name on the quarterback side.
Guys could
But
leave too. So
what'd you say? Sorry.
the guys could leave too. So
Absolutely. Well, we hope not.
we
That's
hope
one
not.
thing that Kalani said yesterday in their thing. The very first job they had was to recruit their own guys.
Yes.
That's where they went to work, is to keep their own guys at home. And I think compared to last year, they did that.
Yeah, and the good thing with the transfer portal too is some guys will leave that they're great guys, but they probably won't get. Quentin Rice left. Seemed like a great kid, good player that just didn't have the talent to compete for a starting job. And hopefully he goes and plays at a San Jose State or a Utah State or a New Mexico State, right?
Right.
Hobbs Nyberg left. Sure-handed, but I think all of us knew that Parker Kingston was the future at punt returner.
If he can stay healthy. The kid's
Yeah.
slight. He's quick, but he's slight.
He is. He should put on another 10 pounds of muscle. But
All right. Wyatt, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate Jeff Fuller joining. This was supposed to be just a short bang. I've got another show in 15 minutes, so I'm going to get off.
all right.
Why don't you tell everybody why Coug Connect? That's part of the purpose of this show, is why people should sign up for a BYU NIL.
Coug Connect. I mean, I like to talk about it in terms of we talk about politics and successful campaigns. You need the billionaire donors, right? We do need the Ryan Smiths and whoever's out that's giving to Royal Blue Collective. But every successful political campaign has small dollar donations, right? It has people that are given $20, $50, and that creates buy-in. It creates enthusiasm. It's the reason that people are going and liking recruits' tweets and creating the excitement. You talk to kids that say, look, BYU fans are excited. We get people to sell out stadiums, and those tickets, one ticket can be your yearly Coug Connect. And if 10,000 BYU fans subscribe to Coug Connect, he's going to have, almost 100, that's almost, about $1 million that he can go out and start, really doing some small stuff, right? For all the players. So a lot of people I know have the misconception that he's buying pizza for guys. I know for a fact that he's been able to get, 5-figure deals for players. So it's not like Jake's going out there and giving them $10,
Right.
making a meaningful difference in these kids' lives. So if guys want to make sure that we can compete, look, like for $120 a year, if you want to be a BYU fan, that's the price of a game, right? So it's the world we live in, right? If we want to compete, subscribe.
Completely agree with you. Again, if you want to do a quick sign up, just take your phone, scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and become a member. I signed up last summer, and I've never felt better.
Yep.
I'm doing something active. I wish I could have done this 40 years ago when I was a kid. So,
Yeah.
and if you don't do that, like Wyatt said earlier, you really don't have reason to complain. If you're not contributing to an NIL, one of them, and giving money to the school itself, you really don't have room to complain if you're a BYU fan. So it become part of the solution instead of holding everybody back and, kind of being kind of the drag. Anyway,
Yeah.
Wyatt, thank you so much for joining. Tell everybody where to find you and what you do.
Yeah. I just actually left the U.S. Army. I went to West Point for undergrad, but
Thank you very much for your service.
you're welcome. Yeah. So I was a big BYU fan all growing up. Had season tickets all my life. My dad, ran track and field for BYU back in the day. But yeah, I'm on Twitter, Coug Connect. I think my Twitter handle is Airborne AK-49. So I was an airborne paratrooper in Alaska, which is the 49th state. So Airborne AK-49 is just Wyatt on Twitter. So yeah, join Coug Connect. Super excited to get to more games this year, and hopefully we keep the trajectory upward. So excited. Thanks for everything you do to make this exciting.
I'm trying to help, just trying to, a small little piece of the puzzle.
All the content. Yeah.
I appreciate everybody that does do content. It takes a lot of time. But we care, or otherwise we wouldn't do it. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great holiday season. If you're new to Big 12 Mafia, please subscribe, follow us on Twitter, and get active. Be part of the solution. I always tell everybody, if you want to feel good about yourself and you're a BYU fan, get involved and ask questions. I'm happy to answer them. Wyatt's happy to answer them, and we're here to be part of the group solution. Anyways, I want everybody to have a good, safe holiday season. Wyatt, make sure you send me a DM and we'll stay in contact. We'll do this again, okay?
Hey, go Cougs, beat Utah.
Go Cougs, beat Utah. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great night. Happy holidays and peace out.